everyone. My name is Peyton Roberts. I attend the University of Illinois Springfield. I'm a rising sophomore and I'm an intern for the Clare Luce Policy Institute. Before I introduce our next segment and our next speaker, I want to take another moment to thank Margie. I know that her segment was extremely valuable to all of us, and I just want to thank her one more time for taking the time out of her busy schedule to speak to all of us. In 1981, President Ronald Reagan made an appointment to the seat of U.S. Treasurer that would forever change the face of conservatism, particularly for women. That appointee was Boothe Buchanan. At 32 years of age, Boothe was the youngest person to hold the position of U.S. Treasurer. Since serving for 2 terms in the Reagan administration, Boothe has served as the campaign chairman for all 3 of her brother Pat Buchanan's presidential elections, as well as the senior advisor to Mitt Romney's 2012 presidential campaign. As a former co-anchor on Equal Time, a co-host on the original version of Crossfire, a political analyst for Good Morning America during the 1992 presidential election, and a former radio talk show host, Boothe has excelled as a media personality and spokesperson for conservative ideas. Boothe is also an author and has published 2 books, The Extreme Makeover of Hillary Rodham Clinton, and Boothe and Her Boys, The Unexpected Lessons I Learned as a Single Mom. In the summer of 1996, George Magazine recognized her as one of the top 20 political women in the nation. The Clare Luce Policy Institute awarded Boothe Buchanan the 2007 Women of the Year Award, and in 2011, she was named by the Institute as one of the 10 most influential conservative women in America. In addition to all of her achievements, Boothe continues to advance the conservative movement. She is the president of the American Cause, an educational foundation dedicated to advancing traditional conservative values, and regularly speaks on college campuses about leadership and conservative principles. I have had the fortune to meet Boothe at a past Clare Luce event in the fall, and as an outlook, as meeting her as a result of which, my outlook on conservative ideas has strengthened and my passion for working as an activist ignited. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Boothe Buchanan.
Good afternoon. I want to tell you I just drove in from out where I live, which is a little bit in the suburbs, out of Fairfax. And many of you are not from Washington, D.C. I had the privilege of being born and raised here, and went to school here through high school and been back many times since for different periods of time. And I want to tell you something, and I don't want you to miss this. Those of you who don't know this town, you are in one of the most beautiful cities in the world. I drove down that GW Parkway, and every single time, I mean, I was born and raised here, Georgetown. I went to high school right there behind Georgetown University, and I'm just taken back by the beauty. And you see this, the monuments and the malls and the gardens and the buildings are spectacular, and I've had several opportunities in the last couple of weeks, I should say, to be on the streets of D.C. 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock after an engagement, and just walking down looking at these amazing buildings is really phenomenal. And so I want you to recognize and appreciate where you are. In addition to its just physical beauty, it is one, if not the most powerful city in the world. Now, if you're in the financial world, you might say, no, it's not. New York is, or Geneva, or something. But this city is one of the most powerful, without question, and for millions of Americans, the most significant city. Decisions are made here that change lives around the world, and for better or worse, give real direction to the nation in which we love. So don't miss out by just going through your daily activity. Recognize where you are. And when you see this enormous amount of power in the halls, inside these walls and halls of this great city, you recognize that with power comes corruption and abuse and all kinds of things, good and bad, even stupidity. I mean, anyone who would take a traitor and trade it for the 5 top military leaders of your enemy, that is just dumb. That's just dumb. It has a political ear that's completely deaf, or so arrogant they think they can do anything they want and nobody can challenge it. And they're paying the price. But they have managed to get away with a whole lot that is clearly abuse of power when you talk about the NSA or the spying or IRS, or the many scandals that just VA. I mean, they want to give us health care. We know what kind of health care they give the vets. You think you want to sign up for that? That's where it's at. It's all there. It's very clear. And yet there's great good that comes out of this city. There's great ability to make a difference in this city. And so as you go through this experience of yours of being in this town, recognize this, all that is going on here. And how can you play a part? Or what role should you play? Or where is it you want to be 5 years, 10 years from now? And I've been asked to talk about leadership, which is clear. There's a reason. You can appreciate why. If you listen to your local radio, TV, they'll say leaders in Washington, leaders in Washington. And so if I'm speaking about leaders, you would think this is the place to focus. These good grounds on which to speak about leadership when you're here in DC. But I want to take it from a different point of view. And the first thing I want to ask you is, I believe that you're here because you're interested in the issues and in being a leader, in making a difference, and influencing others. I just don't believe you're going to spend your beautiful Friday afternoon in a conference like this unless you're looking to see how you can really be that kind of a leader that you've seen and are impressed by others who have done something before you. How do you get in this kind of a path that'll take you to a place where you feel you've really accomplished a great deal, that you're the person you wanted to be? And that's what I'm going to talk about. Because it's not going to happen by you listening to others. That's a start. That is clearly a start. But you have to then become active. You have to decide this is what you want, and I'm going to show you how to do it. When you talk about leaders, and those of you who've heard me talk before, there's some very clear, easy examples of what is not a leader that comes right from this city. I suggest to you that those in Congress are not all leaders. They should not even be given the title because they follow. Take the party line vote. Party line vote is, you all probably know very well, the day comes, the bill comes up for a vote, and everybody says this one's party line, which means the Democrats vote yes and the Republicans vote no, or vice versa, and the word comes down from the top, this is a party line one, okay? Now, you're now in the Congress of the United States, and somebody's calling your chief of staff saying party line, and you're told party line is a no on this one, and you vote no? Or do you read the bill, study the bill, to see if is this something you agree with or don't agree? Do you think this would be in the best interest of the country? Does this actually fit with those principles that you've espoused to those who voted for you? I mean, is this something you believe is the good bill or a bad bill? And then you go in and vote that way. Or do you just say, okay, party line, okay, got the word, and vote the way you're supposed to? Because that's a sheep. You know, you just follow. And you got the phone call. You don't have to be any kind of leadership genius there. You know, you're just going to do exactly what they tell you. And then there's some that you're allowed to decide yourself. Well, that's just great. They're not significant. They're minor. Because the significant ones the party is deciding on. We do not need that kind of individual in this city. We do not need them. We want people who say to the party, I think you do a lot of good, I'm going to help you any way I can. You do not tell me how to vote. That's for me to decide. Because I'm here to make a difference for those things I believe in. And I am going to do exactly what I believe is best interest for my children, your children, and this country's future. End of story. Don't call me again when it comes to voting one way or the other. Got it? I'll go to your fundraisers. I'll do whatever I can to help. But I am not giving you my vote. That's mine. That's why I'm here in this city. That's why I've been voted to be here. All right? That is what we need. That's a leader. And it is tough. It is very, very difficult. Do not think that you can just kind of come into town and get your fancy office and be called the honorable and end up just having no pressure. So, I don't believe for 1 minute that the good men and women who are in Congress came back here with the intention of turning their vote over to some leadership person. I think they thought they were going to come back and make a difference. But they were not ready. They were simply not ready because the pressure came and it was too much for them to balk. Or they just didn't really believe that particular issue. You know, this is a bill on education. What do I know about education? So we're going to increase the size of the education budget with this. We're going to have government interfere even further in the lives of families with respect to educating their kids. Well, what's the big deal? Just check off, do what they tell me to do. That, what do we need you for? So this is what I ask. What if you were in a position 5 years from now where you are asked to do something or have to do something that takes a lot of courage and move forward move a very difficult path with a lot of pressure on you? Can you do it? Are you going to be ready? Are you going to be ready? Because you're not going to be ready unless you start thinking about this and deciding if you want to be the person that's going to make the tough calls and stand tall for the beliefs in which you believe. It's just not going to happen. I've been on national television, had the lights there, and they're firing very tough questions in very difficult circumstances. You don't have any idea how close I wanted to come to say, I agree with you. I'm out of here. Get that camera off. I don't want any more of this. All right? Because, you know, this isn't easy to come against the grain and go against all that they believe out there. All the press says is right. All the ones the establishment says is the right direction. And you're going to take a position against it? Very, very tough. So, this is what happened. George Bush is conservative, relatively. Some of us don't really believe that, but I should just say he was perceived as a conservative as president. And Congress was in Republican hands. Senate was in Republican hands. And the president came up with this grand idea, this is Karl Rove days, that we were going to introduce an entitlement. Medicare prescription drug entitlement, Part D, I believe it is. And now, so that you understand the significance of this particular vote, I was 6 and knew an entitlement was a bad thing. I'm one of 9 children, okay? And I'm number 7. And my brothers, it was crossfire at the table, early days, and my father and brothers would just constantly talk about how terrible entitlements are and how they're going to bankrupt this country. You can't control the costs. They're completely out of control. You have no idea 10, 15, 30 years from now how much this stuff is going to cost. Entitlement is not a good thing, all right? I couldn't spell the word. I could barely say it. I knew it was bad. That is a core belief of Republicans. We have pro-choice Republicans and pro-life Republicans. We have free trade Republicans and fair trade Republicans. We have Republicans for the war, Republicans against the war. But one thing I find very little of is Republicans who believe in big government. Okay? That's our core belief. Economic, conservative position, small government, get the heck out of our way. You know, Ronald Reagan. All right. So an entitlement is bad. George Bush, with the wisdom of Karl Rove behind him, decided that we were going to introduce an entitlement for the seniors. Medicare, prescription drug Part D, okay? And this is a huge entitlement. It's a dramatic increase in the money that the government was going to be obligated to spend. It came from a Republican president. It went to a Republican Senate and a Republican House. If those in the Republican House, of which I knew many, there was some core there. There were some core conservatives who are just as solid on every vote as you can imagine. 20 of them. He needed about 15 to 16 of their votes. Okay? If they didn't vote for him, for this bill, it wouldn't have passed. Now, these are not just Republicans who, you know, are party line. These are guys who, and women, who really believe entitlements is a bad thing. And they voted for it. Enough of them voted for it to pass the bill. So I asked them afterwards. They even had meetings ahead of time. Oh my gosh, we can't vote for this. This is terrible. What's we going to do? And they were trying to keep each other, buoy each other up, saying we can't do this. So I asked them afterwards, how in the world did this get through Congress? What happened to you guys? And one said, I'll tell you what happened, May. The president called us. I said, the president called you? Yeah. Well, he told us, he explained it. This was going to be very damaging to him as the leader of the Republican Party, and to have his own party defeat a bill of his, and that it wouldn't be not in our interest to do it. And I said, well, did you discuss with him what would be the interest of Americans and maybe the interest of the country and in the future of this nation and your children and your grandchildren? Did you talk about any of those things? Because you believe that. How can you vote for something that is damaging to this country, that you firmly believe is damaging because you received a phone call? A phone call. I don't care who the phone call is from. Why couldn't you say, hey, Mr. President, gee, good for you to call. I voted for you twice. I think you're doing great. And I mean, I think you're wonderful on this and that and whatever. But on this, I can't agree with you because you're wrong. You're wrong. I can tell you why. But when they voted for something they did not believe in, you know what? They sold their vote. Their vote is now owned by the president. Because next time they need the vote, what do you think is going to happen? Get the president to call him, he switches when the president calls him. It's done. It's done. That is not leadership. And that is why this country is having many, many of the problems we are facing today. Because we didn't have the kind of courage of conviction in that House and in the Senate. It's too political. It is not about leaders standing up truly for what they believe. It's about sitting in the back room and negotiating this, negotiating that, and just see if we can get something done here and there. I'm telling you, for too many years, our conservative leaders have been too quiet, have been hesitant to speak out, have been concerned about political correctness, and they haven't been on the front lines, which is where they needed to be to win the battles. And we have lost way too many. If you are indeed a conservative, I am telling you now, I challenge you, we need leaders in this movement. People who will stand up, who will not back down with a phone call, or will not back down because pressure and family or friends, or whatever it be. That's the only thing that's going to turn this country around and give us the direction we need to become great again. So if you want to become part of something as big as that, which we do need you to be, I'm going to show you how to do it. You know, Ronald Reagan I worked for many years. I got to know him personally, and he's as great as anything you've heard about him, he is more. He was phenomenal. But I'll tell you why. He debated for years. He was the leader of the conservative movement, and he debated across this country defending our principles constantly in exchange with the left. All right? So you know when he became president of the United States? Even when he was governor of California, he deeply believed, passionately believed, that he knew this was the best way. This way that he's talking about, that's the best way. He heard the other side. He listened to the other side. He listened to their positions, and he made the determination, that's wrong, this is right. So when somebody would say to him, or a bill would come to his desk, or the debate would be there, he knew beforehand, this raises taxes and makes government bigger. X, nope, not happening. And moved on. He didn't need to know all the details. This is not good for America. I'm not going there. Don't try to negotiate with me. Tell me some sad story. He based everything he did on those principles that were deeply held. So you all who have some beliefs now, believe you certainly are conservative and maybe more so on some issues than the other, or more passionate about some issues than the other. That's all expected. It's now time to take it to the next step. You need to debate. If you think you're strong conservative and believe in small government, you've got to find some liberals who believe in big government, not hard at all, and start debating. Pick a certain issue and start talking to them and challenge them. Listen to them. Why is it you want to spend all these millions of dollars? Don't you see? In education, it has failed and failed and failed. It's time to change the policy. It's not working. Challenge them. And so I want to give you a couple of examples, and I always use the same one because it's one of the ones I'm very passionate about, and that's why. It doesn't matter if that's not your issue, if your issue is the war, if your issue is immigration, that's one of my issues too, if your issue is the trade issue, whatever it be, find the issue. First one you want to pick, and then start developing yourself on it. And obviously you have to know the facts, you have to know where your position, where you stand, forget what your parents or your teachers, what is it you believe, what's in here. And the only reason you know that is you go talk to your roommate, or you go talk to someone who disagrees with you, and you say, if it's a pro-life issue, you say, you know, I don't understand, you're pro-choice, I overheard you talking. How can you possibly support a policy that allows someone to kill the baby, kill a child? Each abortion is a child. And then watch what they respond. And they're going to come right at you and say, what do you mean, you support the forcing a 14-year-old raped by her dad to have the child? Is that what you do? And you're going to be very uncomfortable, and you're going to think, oh, I didn't know about that. And then you're going to feel hesitant, like maybe you haven't done your homework here. You've been really challenged right to your face. Somebody's asked you, do you support a policy in a country that would require a 14-year-old to have that child? So what do? You're going to wish you never said anything, because you're not going to know the answer possibly, unless you've already been in this issue for a while. But that's okay. This is how you learn. You go and you find some pro-lifers. I would call my brother Pat. and say, okay, listen, this is a little tough one. What about the 14-year-old, you know? That's their best issue. That's their best approach. It's the hardest. My experience with the left is you get over the first 2-3 hurdles, first 3 rounds, and you're done. They don't have anything else. You'll win. You just have to stick with it. So, you come back and you talk to someone like now. If you talk to me, of course, I just say, look at every child. It's a child on every occasion. I can't pick and choose which ones live and die. It's a child. And someone else will say, no, rape and incest has to be the exception. It has to be the exception. Okay, then you're going to find out what you believe. You're going to talk about it. You're going to consider it. And then you go back for the second round. Now you got that taken care of. You're going to be a little more aggressive. And you come back with them. And what about the child that can live outside the womb? How about 5 months can live outside the womb? What about that? You support aborting a child that can live outside the womb? Okay, you know, we have some strong positions too here. And then you go back and forth. And you know what's going to happen? 2 things. First, you're going to have a better and clearer understanding of why people are on the other side of this issue. And once you do that, you will firm up your confidence in your position. Because I've heard their position. I've heard it and heard it and heard it. There's no surprises. I know what they believe, and they're wrong. They're wrong. Maybe you'll be uncomfortable, you're uncertain. Maybe you should start talking to people who've had abortions. Some of those women out there who suffer from that terrible, terrible decision they made years ago. And you might talk to them, find out firsthand the difficulties of dealing with the rest of their life. The pain, the suffering that they carry with them, the scars. And you'll become even more convinced. The key is this. The key to leadership is that you understand the issue, that you are certain, you are confident, that you know the direction it should be, that you know the answer to it, that this is the best answer. Nothing's perfect, but this is the right one. And then you can stand up tall because you know, nobody's going to surprise you. And that's because you've debated. So you build your own passion, you become more convinced, that gives you the courage to stand up to anybody. And so then, when you think, I've got it, now's the big test. In the classroom, you wait for your opportunity. I don't care if it's math class, history class, any class. You wait for a group of people where some word like Roe v. Wade, abortion, choice comes up. And you take it to the next level. And you tell them in that class, that group, that gathering, and you make your little 1 minute, I'm going to tell you it is wrong. Every single time there's 2 victims, the mother and the child. It's a child, for heaven's sakes. How can you possibly support a policy that allows someone to take the life of a child? And you say it passionately because you believe this. And you know what's going to happen? You're going to have, especially do this on university campus, you're going to have about, how many people in that classroom? 20? All of them turning like you have lost your mind. And how in the world, a ridiculous statement you're against women. What about women's choice? You know, you've probably been there, many of you already. You're going to feel pressure. You're going to feel as if you wish you never opened your mouth. That's when you should thank the Lord. Because you know you're not ready. You know pressure would keep you from taking the next step if you had a big decision to make right then. So you know, okay, you don't feel badly, you feel pleased. You now know what it is to be in that firestorm. You know how it feels to have all these people looking at you, calling you, suggesting that you really aren't with the team. You want to feel that. You want to feel it again and again and again. Because that's when you're ready. That's when you know. It doesn't matter who's going with me. I don't care who says what. I know without question in my heart that the best thing is for that woman not to abort the baby. And it's clearly best for the baby. And so you are going to become a champion for the unborn. Give those children a voice. If you will, you can save lives. But if you're hesitant and don't want to talk about it, you're pro-choice, pro-life, of course. You would never, ever think of having an abortion or something. You just want to keep quiet. You can't influence others. You can't save lives. It's by being vocal, by expressing yourself in a way that shows that you are passionate and you believe it, and it's all for the right reason. I'm telling you, you make that strong statement in a class, in a gathering, in a group, and you don't know who you influence. You don't know what woman right there will make that decision 2 to 3 years from now and think, I've never heard of anyone speaking as if this would be a bad thing, except that one person in the class. And she seems so adamant. You may cause her to hesitate, to study a little closer, and to save the baby's life. That's remarkable. That's true leadership. That's willingness to put yourself out for your beliefs, to be defined by what it is you believe, to put all political correctness aside. No one, we are Americans. One of the greatest gifts we've been given is the right to speak our beliefs, to speak loudly and clearly. Are you willing to give that up? Because that's what defines you. That's who you are. That means you're willing to make the difference. And it doesn't have to be the issue of life, although I love to use it because it's so powerful when you understand, when you can influence people. This is remarkable to say that you were able to save a life. That's true leadership. Okay, so what do you do? What do you do now? I think what you have to take a look at is what issues really drive you. Who do you want to be defined as? Pick that issue. Don't think you're going to know all the issues that I know. So I'm an old lady now. Hate to tell you that, but it's been a long time I've been doing this. And those first couple times, I cannot tell you how many times when I had my television show, the left was on this side, and the camera's running, and we're talking about guns or something, and that liberal made a very good statement, a very solid one, and I went, holy, that's an excellent point. And I immediately changed the topic. They were winning this round. It was and I didn't realize it was a very good argument. So I had to come back and say, it's not that they don't have any positions that are valid. They have valid positions. They just come in at a different position than we do. But we have the best arguments because we're right. We're right. When you put it all together, we have the best positions. The conservative movement has proved itself to be right for this country. We have turned this nation around more than once, and we can do it again. But we can't do it unless we have young people like yourselves out there talking to people from the other side, making a difference. People are influenced by strong people. That's what makes you a leader. Is they see you, they're not going to agree with you. And I've had so many people say to me, you're wrong on all the issues, but I am impressed. But you've given them reason to think, because the way you present yourself, by who you are, they respect you. They respect you, and therefore your positions now have validity for them to consider. That's what a leader is. It takes courage. When you think of those young men on that plane that was going to the terrorist had taken over, was over Pennsylvania and headed to the Capitol, what did those young men do? These are young men with families. They started talking quickly among themselves. This plane is not going to take out our Capitol or our White House. Let's go. Let's go. We're taking it down. They did that for us. This happens every day. If you just read any of the stories of our vets, what they do for one another. They put their life on the line for their fellow men and women out there. It's right there, all out. They put it all out. What are you being asked to do? To stand tall in a classroom? How does that compete? If you can't stand tall in a classroom with some students your own age because of some intimidation, some hesitancy, how are you going to be the leader that the nation needs? And I don't mean you have to be elected officials. You just have to be moms. You have to be a member of the community. You have to work in offices. All of those people, you can touch. You can make a difference. I remember when I was picking up my kids, and I'll give you an opportunity to ask questions, but I was a single mom of 3 children for most of their whole lives. And I'd pick up my kids, at the school, the long line. And you have parents there, a lot of parents there. And I remember at one occasion, do you hear what they're going to teach next year to our kids? They're going to teach this horrible thing. They're going to be teaching all about this, promiscuity or whatever it is, a gay lifestyle or whatever. The kids are in 3rd or 4th grade. You're like, what in the world? And they're saying, it's terrible, it's terrible. Are you going to be that parent? Are you going to be the parent that says, no, they're not? When's the next school board meeting? Let's take it over. I'll run for president, you run for vice president. We're taking it over. We're not, no, these are our kids. They can't tell us what to teach our kids. We are going to take over. Or is it the next parents' meeting? You make such a stink that they really think twice about what it is. Or are you just going to sit back and say, well, what can we do? What do you mean, what can you do to your kids? If you're not going to fight for them, who is? Nobody. You have got to start understanding that life isn't just about, making certain we keep things comfortable and keep everybody happy. There's times when we have to step forward and do the tough thing and maybe upset a lot of people and stir a whole lot of baskets out there. That's leadership. That's where people say, hey, they're going to do it, I'll go too. Hey, you're going to run, okay, I will. And the next thing you know, you can do it. One person can make an enormous difference. But if you don't start now and start recognizing when that pressure hits you and those lights go on, are you going to fold? The only way you know you're not going to fold is because you've already been there. Time and again, talking to the left, challenging them, putting yourself in awkward positions to stand up and be bold. That makes the difference. And then you'll know, nobody's messing with me, they're my kids. Get it? I'm fighting for them. You guys do what you want. So that is what I leave with you. A plea that each and every one of you will recognize the enormous need this country has today for the kind of leadership that we do have, some in Congress, not enough. There are some up there, no question. We need more, and we need you across the country. And we need you to start working at it now, so when it's your turn to step forward, you're ready. And that could be 2 years from now, and it could be 10. But you keep working towards that day. And then you make us all proud. Thank you very, very much. Love to take some questions. Yes. Up here.
I was told to wait until I get
Okay, very good.
Sorry.
You're very obedient.
So I definitely think that is awesome advice. I've never heard leadership put that way before. But I have a question. Even in my own student government in college, it's nothing like what government is here. But even on my own college level, there's definitely a problem between like being a voice for others and doing what you think is right. And I was wondering how you would attack that.
That's a very good question. There's times when you represented yourself honestly, you won an election or a position, you're in a position, and then there's a decision that maybe some of your supporters will disagree with what you're doing. The first and foremost is you've got to be true to yourself. If this is who you are, if this is something you truly believe is right, then you're going to have to be very vocal with those who support you and go back to them. Now, I always say, look, what's the issue? If it's taxes, and you put in a position where, you can get some serious cuts in Congress, some very deep cuts, but you have to vote for some taxes. We have to look at the big picture. I mean, I'm totally opposed to all taxes, all right? But I got to get some Democrats to vote, or else we're not going to get the bill, all right? And I can't give them nothing and say, now you have to vote for it, but that's not going to work. But I don't want to vote for so many taxes, or the kind of taxes that would be harmful to the country, to the businesses, to the families in the country. So I have to see that they are done in such a way that I don't think they would be that harmful, and it would be maybe more beneficial because of the cuts. All right, that takes an educated decision. And then you're going to have to go back to your people and say, I cannot believe you voted for taxes. I can't believe it. You told me you would never vote for taxes. And you could lose office. But what are you going to do? Is this bill for the best for the country or not? If it's for the best of the country, then you've got to be willing to go back and defend it. Right to the people who said never cut taxes and say, I agree with you, taxes are a terrible thing. We had an opportunity to seriously cut the government and to turn the country into being a bit more fiscally responsible. I don't want to go up through that cliff. See, you can make your argument. Look, this was a choice of continuing to spend outrageously and driving the country into bankruptcy, or me giving in a little bit, and I think I did it in the best way possible, and then take the consequences. Too many people in this city are unwilling to do what is right if it means it jeopardizes their reelection. Well, being reelected should not be your top priority. Your top priority is to be true to yourself and do that which you believe is right for this nation, and then take your consequences. If it means you get thrown out of office, you're thrown out of office. So what? You sleep at night. You betray yourself. I don't sleep at night. I don't know about you. Others. Over here, there's two.
Hi, I help run the pro-life club on my campus, but I have kind of the opposite problem than most of these girls, which is pretty much everyone on my campus is pro-life,
How sweet.
but they don't want to do anything about it.
Of course.
So our problem is motivating the student body to participate in our activities and kind of make a difference. So do you have any suggestions for that?
You're going to have to be creative. You're going to have to be imaginative. You're going to have, I think the seriousness of the issue has to be brought to their attention. As I said, it's easy to say I'm pro-life. So, and then I hang out with pro-life people, or when I'm with pro-choice people, I don't say anything. That's easy. Now you're going to make a little bit of difference in life. You know what I mean? And I think you're going to have to tell people, look, you think you're pro-life? Then why don't you do something for the unborn? Be a voice for them. They have no one. If we don't speak for them, they don't have anyone. And we're talking about their life. You see, you're going to have to be provocative, and say, look, we're not asking you to get necessarily go to the abortion centers, although that'd be a very good thing. If that doesn't make you comfortable, we're going to give you a place to be a voice. We want you to go to another campus with us and sit down with some of the students and challenge them. Do something that might be in the realm where they can do it, and then be in their face. Look, do you want to save some lives or not? If you're truly pro-life, do you want to save lives, or are you just in name only? And that's the only thing I can, hopefully you can influence enough so that you make them passionate. The key is to bring people into a movement. You have to make them interested first, curious, to feel that this is a place they'd be comfortable. And then you have to make certain you involve them to make them passionate, so that they start doing the work you're doing, and it multiplies. I'm not there, and I don't take it against anyone. There's different things, especially campus. Some people do in-your-face type of thing and shock. I feel that if you want to influence people, they have to respect you and listen to your point of view. But you can't be shy about it. You can't say, well, we don't want to offend. I never hesitate to offend anyone, because I speak very passionately, and I tell you you're wrong if I think you're wrong, and I'm going to go right to you. But I'm not going to, I'm not in name calling or anything along those lines. And I respect anybody's approach to save unborn. I've seen many, many different ways of doing it, and all of them seem to be effective. So I'm not saying my way is better than anyone else's, but what are you comfortable with doing? And then that's what you got to get them. Okay, do you really pro-life? All right. How pro-life are you? Are you willing to be a voice? You're willing to speak out? You don't want to do abortion centers with this? Okay, how about this? How about clothes for the, let's get some clothes, gathering some clothes for the Senate, the local Senate, the birthright Senate. Why don't we go down there and see what they can do? How can we help? You know what I mean? Put them on a comfort level, but get them involved somehow. I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you.
Others, there was another question, I think, right over here, yes.
So I know that I encounter this often at the University of Michigan, and a lot of girls were talking about how they also encountered it, that we have liberal professors who teach their opinions like they're fact.
Yes.
And then if you don't write about their opinions or anything contrary to what they've taught, your grade is at risk. I wonder how you would respond to that situation.
You got to remember what your role is. When you're in the classroom, if you're allowed to have free speech, and everybody likes a vibrant debate, be part of that debate and make certain you represent your views and don't be hesitant. If that's going to give you an F, the purpose in school is to do well and move on. And so you're not there to convert this professor who's obviously not convertible, But I think that I would, in your class, I just kind of be quiet or just try to do as much as you can that would not hurt your grade. And then if you have to do a paper that regurgitates what this person says, then you're going to have to do it. I mean, I don't think you all should go out there and say, I'm going to do exactly, I'm going to really teach this lady something, come out with C's and D's. That's not going to help it. But at the same time, I wouldn't hesitate afterwards to say, I want to tell you something. This is what you asked for, this is what you got, but this is not leadership. This is not building character in your students. You are forcing them to just repeat. And whereas I do believe the word education means to inspire and enlighten, you failed in your responsibility and then hightailed out with your grade. I went to see the teacher after you got your marks, say, we wish to file a complaint, or file a complaint with their supervisor. Just because, be smarter than the other side. Don't fall into the trap of getting thrown out of school for doing stuff, that that you thought was, now, if you think something's right, if it's run in school, then I give you credit, but recognize you gotta graduate and move forward. Your parents are paying a whole lot of money, and so you don't want to just, throw all that aside. But that doesn't mean you stand down 1 minute. You become known as a person that's very proud of your positions and willing to express them in a way that shows you're speaking from your heart. Other questions?
I think we're good.
Oh, we're good? No more questions? Okay, thanks very, very much. Thanks for listening. And good luck to every one of you.